Welcome, everybody, to the debut of the Bird and Berg show. I am the producer, DM. We'll be guiding you through every episode, trying to keep these two from going at each other's throats, keeping everything in control while we're trying to give you guys insight, analysis, some plays to make you money, great stuff like that. To kick off everything, I'm going to introduce you to our two hosts, Birdman and Adam Rosenberg, aka Berg. What's up, guys? If you want to introduce yourselves, we'll start with Birdman. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself for those who don't know. Even I'm sure it's gonna be all our good friends checking in to start us off here.
Hey, how's it going? Birdman here. Just another guy likes to bet sports, talk about it. Been on Twitter for a while now, but started putting out some plays a few years ago, and just fell in love with it all. So yeah, happy to make some money this season.
And I did not purposely coordinate wearing my Kelly green shirt with Birdman shirt. So this is just means that this entire venture was meant to happen between the three of us. But yeah, I mean, I like to bet, and I noticed this dude on Twitter last summer who kept literally tweeting no bird puns intended about doubles parlays, and I was like, I got to be friends with this guy. And Dan, I met you through other hijinks and antics talking about football, and I'm just glad that we can make something happen with this. This will be fun.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you guys kind of want this to be? Obviously, we're gonna learn as we go. It'll evolve, it'll develop. But out the gate, what are we trying to give people? What do we want them to, learn from this experience, from this, and why are people going to tune into us?
Yeah, so past couple years, personally, I've been putting out like my own betting plays weekly. Write ups when I had the time for it, and dive into weekly NFL and other sports throughout the year. And I just want people to be able to hear my opinion on it and Berg's opinion and Dan. It's when you read something on Twitter, it's not the same as hearing it from somebody. Hearing the conviction and kind of having more of a personality with it. So, I hope people can learn, make some money betting, maybe have some inspiration to make some plays on your own that you like from some info you hear on here. But yeah, I'm just excited for the year, excited for people to tune in.
Yeah, I honestly, we have what I consider an Avengers Elite group chat that we started last summer. I think everyone thinks that their group chat's great, but I think ours is literally the best because everybody does something very, very different in it. And yeah, I mean, look, this is just about finding ways to take the information that we have and share it with people that we're talking about it with anyway, and trying to build a community around it. So why not us? Just like the 2008 Phillies championship slogan, why not?
So the general plan is going to be to stream live on Twitch. I believe we're aiming for Thursday nights, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday may rotate. But during the week, getting stuff to you so you have time to get out and make it available. You can watch live on Twitch. We will have the replay available on YouTube. We will have clips and things available on all social media. So make sure Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, everything is just Bird and Berg. Very simple, universal across all things. Make sure you're following us. We'll have some other stuff in store for you as we go, as we build and as we grow. So we're very excited to create a community, educate people, and of course, obviously, win everybody some money.
And I can tell you, we can also tell you, like, you'll hear, we might victory lap a little bit if something goes well, but we're also going to say like, yo, man, we really missed that one. And there's not going to be a lot of 100 likes and we'll drop free plays type of stuff. We just want to give everybody information and gatekeep. Boo is right. Boo is right to that. Look, man, it's the same stuff that bothers everyone, and we're just friends. And
I meant I wanted it.
Oh, you want? Okay, well then we're gonna find something. We will find something within this. You know what? We will gatekeep we will gatekeep something before the end of the show.
I'm the anti-victory lapper of the group. I just keep it moving. Next week, new opportunity.
You have too many plays to figure out what to victory lap.
That is true. It's like the hilarious bit on Birdman is that, like, he also doesn't bet like baseball daily like I do, which is like drinking salt water, but he has like 60 futures plays. And it turns out profitable, and it's great. And I look at it, I'm like, man, how's he have 60 plays? And I realize that I literally just put in 60 baseball plays yesterday. So
Yeah, that's
so
too many.
who's laughing now?
So I think the plan here was we were going to talk a little bit about futures and just kind of broad upcoming season stuff, just to get a little bit of stuff out there. Obviously, next week we will really dive in to week one and hit that hard off the rip. So, BM, if you want to start on things you're looking for in the season, any plays you want to give out off the rip for what's upcoming, any futures, and what you think on them, I think we could probably start there.
Yeah, sure. And when we do it, for the year, we'll obviously start off and recap the previous week. This is first episode, so we're not gonna have that this week. But yeah, I mean we could talk a little bit about some futures. Yeah, I'll start with a player prop future that I like this year. Joe Mixon over 6.5 rushing touchdowns. You can find that at -106 at Bet Rivers or -118 on FanDuel. He had 7 last year, missed 3 games, but he had 3.5 fewer touchdowns than expected. To get to 7, he did have a big game against the Panthers where he had 4 touchdowns. But he had 13 in 2021, the year before, and he does have an 8 rush touchdown season in his second year in the league. The Bengals didn't really bring in a true replacement for Samaje Perine. They drafted Chase Brown in the 5th round. They still have Chris Evans, but not much competition for Mixon.
Not Captain America, Chris Evans.
Right, not Captain America, Chris Evans.
Okay,
Not America's ass.
Not America's ass.
Yeah, not that. But they added Orlando Brown from the Chiefs. Strong O lineman, should be the best unit of Mixon's career that he's running behind. I think Burrow will be as close to 100% as you can be without a lot of prep time. But they did release Trevor Siemian over the past couple of days, so that's a good sign for him to be healthy. But I still think you'll see a little bit of a more cautious approach offensively, at least to start the year. Mixon had 46 red zone touches last year, which ranks 6th in the league, and the 3rd most touches inside the 10-yard line with 30 touches. I think there's plenty of opportunity for him to hit this in this top-tier offense. He had 101 red zone opportunities, tied with Dalvin Cook for 3rd most, and 66 touches inside the opponent's 10-yard line, which was the most in the league over the last 2 years. The first 6 games of the year are against defenses that all allowed 1.2 or more rushing touchdowns per game last year, ranking 29th, 28th, and 27th, as well as all those defenses being 19th or worse in red zone touchdowns per game. So I think he's in line for a hot start. I think he's in line for a good year. He's not going to be suspended or miss any time for that. I think this line should be maybe 7.5. I think it's a fire for me. Love it.
So here's a quick question on that. Like, not to get it off of things, but what do you think about the fact, because all summer we were kind of like, are they going to cut Mixon? Are they going to do this? I mean, is there? You mentioned the draft, but do you think that guys that they drafted, there's really no competition? Do you think that just kind of gets washed away, or like, do you think that comes back? Like, he's also kind of like you said, he's had a ton of touches, he's had a ton of that. Like, do you anything like that you've been thinking of? Because like that's what scares me off of the play. Like, solid play, and I'm eye on the Bengals, as you know, but I'm just really curious because like that phased me a lot when I was looking at Mixon props.
Yeah. That might be for me. That might be something that they address next year. Okay. I feel like they're too close to the top of like the contender list to afford to just be like, yeah, we don't like him enough to just like let him go or try to trade him. Chris Evans, I don't really know what's much going on with him. Like, he's an all right back. Chase Brown looks decent, but 5th round pick. I think they're probably going to ride Mixon at least this year. Maybe I'm not positive of his contract off the top of my head, but that might be a next year issue. And I think that they have championship aspirations. When they get down there, especially with Burrow's injury, although like I said, he should be 100%, but they get down to the red zone early in the season. I don't think they're going to have Burrow running around. If they can choose to not have him scrambling around.
I agree.
I think they're just going to pound it with him or throw it to Chase. And over the season, I think that it's a solid look.
Nope, I dig it.
So Joe Mixon signed a 2-year, $11.5 million contract. So he is under contract next year, but they do have the out next year too. So he's pretty much can be out, or they can keep him.
It's also a good call out that they're just going to probably why mess with what worked when you're so close.
Right. If they're like the Texans or some, middling to
Yeah.
low team, maybe they get rid of them.
Yeah, and
But
that's the thing is, so you're obviously a Super Bowl contender, so you want to have that talent there. You have it. You could run him into the ground and get out of it if it doesn't work out, or if you find out that he's still kind of that guy and you like it, then you have him under control. So it
That's a
is,
Howie move.
yeah,
Howie would run him into the
exactly.
ground.
But so it's definitely a win-win for his numbers too, because they have no reason to not want him to get numbers, even if he has a crazy good season. He's under contract next year, and if you're worried about wear and tear, well, you run him into the ground and then be done with him. Adam, what do you like?
So I'm gonna start us off with a bomb. So I'm a big fan of the most interceptions market. I just think it's consistently mispriced. I know that you guys are big fans of this as well. I like Trevor Lawrence at 40-1 to lead the league in interceptions. A couple reasons why I like this. One, frankly, he's done it before. He did it 2 years ago. Two, uh, there's expectation of higher volume when passing. He is looked at for MVP awards. He's being looked at for high for passing stuff. They obviously have Calvin Ridley. They got a lot of guys who still performed last year. You can have volume in passing, and actually that creates more opportunities for interceptions. It doesn't necessarily mean you're having a bad year. For all of the stuff that we talk about with Dak Prescott being the fraud that he is, he still had, what, 4,000 yards and 15 interceptions last year. Which, by the way, Davis Mills was running away with that for a while. And then Dak Prescott was like, no, no, no. I want this award. But the thing is, the thing how I look at interception prop markets is I look for a guy for a future that isn't going to get benched and is going to consistently get that workload and is just consistently throwing the ball. Trevor Lawrence hits that. I like it. I know, he's obviously in a weaker division, but let's kind of see. So I like that as a bomb to start off with as a futures play.
um, yeah, I mean, I'm high on Trevor Lawrence. Um, I think I do have a couple brief concerns. So the first concern would be second year with Doug. Offensive head coach should be improvement. We saw what the last 9 games that everyone talks about, of him being really good with the ball, and then he goes in the playoffs and throws 4 picks. So
Right.
the whole volume thing I think is definitely a great point. I think they'll be throwing a lot that added Calvin Ridley. The only other, I guess not red flag or issue, but there's going to be 3 starting rookies this year in the NFL.
Yeah.
But like we talked about when we were discussing some of this stuff, there's going to be opportunities for maybe these rookies to get benched potentially, or not, or some of these middling quarterbacks that we might like for this award on a typical year.
Yeah.
They might like Jimmy G. He's not the biggest interception guy, but new offense, all this stuff, he could get benched. There's a lot of situations like that around the league. But yeah, the high odds, I like that bet.
So I think the one thing I know a lot of people are on, and I think this might be fairly public, is I think a lot of people also like Lawrence as somewhat of a dark horse MVP candidate. So I kind of like this as a hedge to that if you're playing that, because you kind of are taking the best and worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Maybe he
At a
lights
huge number.
Maybe he lights the league on fire. Maybe he absolutely stinks. And when you talk about the rookies and stuff, I know a point that Adam always makes a lot that I really like for this is he in danger of losing his job no matter how bad he plays? I don't think so. And that's one of the things. You want a guy who's going to play every game and have the opportunity to throw those picks. I think all the other rookies, if they're playing bad, they may not get the whole season to play, and that's where Trevor Lawrence is kind of in a good spot for that. He's going to play. He's going to start every game no matter what. I don't think he could play so bad they'd replace him for somebody else, but he could definitely throw a ton of picks.
What are the odds? What were the odds on Lawrence?
40-1. Like that's the thing about like this whole entire category. It's like the rookies are all short numbers.
Right.
Well, actually, Bryce Young's was like pretty long, but you guys know how I feel about the offensive situation there. I think they're going to run it too much, but there's like a whole gaggle of guys that are like between 30-1 and 50-1, and it's sort of like why not take a dart at it?
Yeah, the other guy that fits a lot of the mold of what you were talking about, not to get too sidetracked, but a guy in that
It's
range
not. We're talking.
is,
It's not sidetracked because we're talking football.
but yeah, I mean, it's just like Lamar Jackson's another guy.
I love that
we
one.
talked about that we like because he won't get benched. They just gave him a boatload of money. new offensive coordinator, expected to up the tempo, pass more. They added some weapons. You know, in general, if he doesn't want to get hurt every year, he's gonna have to run less. So yeah, I mean, I think both Lamar and Trevor Lawrence are both kind of in a similar situation in that regard.
I agree.
I will say I do trust Doug Peterson and Lawrence, the offensive coach with a coordinator or offensive coach with the elite quarterback over a new coordinator with Lamar that might not have the same kind of chemistry. But yeah, good
Yeah,
look
I mean,
regardless.
I think for the only, I mean, it's not even back because I think they're both great. I think you could make both those bets, and I think they're both great bets. My thing with Lamar, like I consistently go back to, is that um, if I'm to believe that he is not going to run the ball anymore, that feels to me like taking away the Superman's ability to fly, because it's literally what makes him so special and such a threat is that he will run around and do that. That being said, he threw for what I talked about it. We talked about it in our group chat. Threw for like 300 yards against the Patriots because they just don't. He being mobile does not necessarily mean you have to run. It just means you can escape and elude. So we'll see what happens here. I don't know if I think like I think Trevor Lawrence could have a Dak Prescott-esque year, which does not mean good or bad. It probably actually trends more towards the good. But it could also be great and elite. So we'll see. By the way, while this is episode 0 and we are troubleshooting as we are going, your guys' video has frozen on my end. I don't know if that matters or not, but I'm gonna just say it because we're live.
It looks good on mine, so I think we're okay.
All right.
Okay, that's fine. That's cool.
We'll find
Whatever.
out. So that's why we're doing
We will find. That's why it's episode 0. This is our Hawaii versus Vanderbilt.
it.
Yeah, right.
Our Appalachian State game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our App State game. So so Dan, do you got something that you like that you're looking at?
Yeah, I've kind of got a bundle here, so I'll just kind of knock these out because
Yeah.
I'll save.
And then I'm
save a lot
gonna
of
do
the floor
mine
for
all
you
at
guys.
once.
But
I think after that.
it's weird. I have so much on the NFC North, and it's not a division that I really believe in any team. Yeah, I have a lot of money on it, and I'm now realizing that, and it's making me a little bit uncomfortable. But I'm really big on the Lions as far as statistics. I don't necessarily think it translates to winning, and not that this is the point, but I am fading their actual win total. But I do think they're going to throw a lot, and I do really like Jared Goff, and I'm on Ross St. Brown. So one of my favorite plays that I jumped on early was Jared Goff over 25.5 passing touchdowns. You can get this at even money on DraftKings, or you can pay for the juice a little bit on MGM and get 24.5 at minus 130. So either way, I like either of those. He had 29 last year. The touchdown vulture Jamal Williams is gone. They also lost DeAndre Swift. It's another year in that offense. And last year, even though like they seemed like a pretty prolific offense, they were actually 19th in pass to run ratio. I think that changes, and they definitely jump up at least into the top 15, if not the top 10. Again, with the running back transition. And then that leads me into Amon-Ra St. Brown props, which I probably before week 1 will have every one of them bet. But the two that I really like are his over 5.5 touchdowns, which is minus 115 on DraftKings. And I am sprinkling on him at 50-1 to lead the NFL in receiving touchdowns.
I love that bet. I love that bet so much.
Absolutely.
Like, not to cut you off. I think that was you called it early, and this isn't one of those. By the way, this is going to be one of those shows where like, well, if you got this back in July, you could be sharp and like.
Although it is 45-1 now, I think
it's fine. Whatever. It's still bettable.
It's
I think that the looks on Amon-Ra are so great. So
he's going in the year 3. He doesn't turn 24 until October. He has averaged 5.5 over the first 2 years. He had 5 and then 6. I think that honestly he's due for positive regression in that sense. He really has no threat for targets or anything in that offense. I think you guys will probably both agree with me. The biggest threat to him for receiving targets is Jameson Williams, who barely played last year and is suspended for the first 6 games. So Amon-Ra St. Brown should eat even before Williams even sees the field and before Goff really gets to possibly build any rapport with him or anything.
Yeah, I'll add on to that a little bit, Dan. Although I do think I think Jahmyr Gibbs will be a factor. But I mean, DeAndre Swift had 50 catches last year, so he could hit that, maybe not. Laporta, the rookie tight end, tight ends are usually slow out of the gate, so I don't know if he's going to be, in those first 6 games making that big of a difference. And we were talking about Amon-Ra. he was tied with Travis Kelsey and Christian Kirk for third most red zone receiving yards last year. Um, and he had like I don't even know the exact number, but it was enough that you could probably need two hands of how many times he was tackled inside the five as well last year. I think all six of his touchdowns came in the red zone, so you're going to see some positive regression probably from longer touchdowns this year too.
Right. And so when you mention those names, it's like even if those all those targets that went to other people go to the replacements for them, that leaves him with everything he had last year. And I think that most of those numbers for the replacement targets is like wishful thinking. Like that's their best case scenario. So that leaves me to say his floor is pretty much last year, and there's a lot of room for growth.
Like, is Montgomery really going to have the 17 rushing touchdowns that Jamal Williams had? Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, the reason I like it a lot too is just because I don't think their defense is very good. I think they're going to be forced to be in situations where they have to pass the ball a lot. And that guy's got talent and he's got skill and he's shown that he can do it. I just think it's look, I mean, in fantasy, he's going in the top 3 rounds. So like, why would he not be considered in like as the top 3 offensive player?
And that harps back to I don't necessarily think this leads to them having like tremendous record success, which again would lead you to believe they're going to have to pass.
Yeah,
I definitely agree.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go over to a divisional prop. Keep it in the AFC North. Keep it with the Bengals also. My favorite division prop is Bengals under 3.5 division wins. You can get that at plus 140 at DraftKings or Caesars. They start the season off back-to-back divisional games, Browns and Ravens. Like I said when I was just talking about Mixon, I do think Burrow will be closer to 100%. But for me, I think the lack of prep time, doing full on, contact for quarterbacks that don't really contact, but full on, offense versus defense types of drills. I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. You look at the teams in the division. Burrow had his first win against the Browns in December. He was 0-5 in his career leading up to that game. He's 3-2 versus both the Steelers and the Ravens, so he hasn't really dominated the division. They split the division series with all three teams last year, going 3-3. I do think the Bengals are going to be a good team. I think they're a contender for everything. I just think when it comes to this division, these are the types of teams that tend to steal games. And something that isn't really being talked about in regards to the Bengals is they do have an underrated defense in general, but this year they lost both starting safeties in the offseason. So I think there's going to take a little bit of time to build that chemistry. The Ravens, they added some weapons, new offensive coordinator, and they got to face them week 2. I do think there's a real possibility they start 0-2. I'm not necessarily betting that, but then they would have to win all 4 of their games. And when you look at the schedule, it even gets a little bit more dicey for them. So even if they start 1-1, I think it's a little tough for them to go 3-1 the rest of the way. They play the Ravens and Steelers back-to-back week 11 and 12. The week 11 game is away on Thursday Night Football versus the Ravens. And the second time they play the Steelers, it's an away game before they go away to the Chiefs the next week. And then they end the season at home versus the Browns, who should be fighting for a playoff spot. So I don't think the schedule did them any favors. I don't think the Burrow injury allowed for prep time, which it seems he just never wants to have enough time to prep in the offseason, like as it comes up to the season, right? Like this is his 3rd or 4th year, and he's had something going on, the appendectomy last year and stuff. So I just think the Browns have had his number. I think it could start off 0-1, and it's tough sledding, winning 4 division games in what I think is the toughest division in football. What do you think, Berg?
Yeah, I mean, I think all these teams are going to be 9-8. It's just so like our 9-8 almost as their floor. It's really hard. I don't think the Bengals are going to. I think that it's look, everything that you said. I kind of am on because it's the team I'm lowest on is in that division is the Ravens, and it's slightly low on them. But you really pointed out a really good thing that while Burrow is great and he's one of those quarterbacks who I'm not afraid to back on the road anywhere. This is the third, we can call it, medium injury in the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years, if you want to count that ACL, which was obviously a big deal. And then he had an appendectomy, and then he has this. And so, it's not, I don't think he's not going to have a long and prosperous career or anything, but it's starting to be worth monitoring that there is quote unquote always something. This is what happened with McNabb. There was always like a little something. It was like a little bit of a sports hernia, a little bit of this, and it's kind of stuff. It all impacts it. I do think that he's going to be fine. But there's other teams in that division I'm higher on. And
At the worst,
because of that, it subtracts.
At the worst, it'll mean slow starts, right? Like,
yeah,
like they could be 11-6 on the year, and I think 3 of those 6 losses are against this division. I do expect to jump from. I mean, Deshaun Watson didn't even, play that well, and he didn't even play the first game, which the one I'm pretty sure that they lost. It was Brissett.
No, yeah, that was that. And
Burrow hasn't beat Brissett or
interceptions.
Baker. Yeah. So, yeah, plus 140, solid price. This division I think is only taking a step up this year. So,
yep,
what's your next one?
My next one, let me look, is I'll just say them both because it's just easier to kind of jump them through. I like the Vikings to win the division in the NFC North. The simple cap for me is that this team was good last year, but I don't think that this team is going to be decrepit this year. Even if they regress, they're probably still an 11-win team, which I think still probably wins that division. And I think that the biggest addition that they made in the offseason was getting Brian Flores in there to run that defense, which was the big problem that they had last year. They were 11-0 score games, even if they regress, they're not going to be 0-11. They're going to probably be closer to 7-4 score games. And I'm fine with that. So I like the Vikings to win that division, plus 290. And I like, this is kind of an interesting one. I like Chargers specifically to win the wild card, to be the wild card team, whatever you want to call it. Make the playoffs
as a wild
plus 250 to win it. To win it, it's a game of chance. They're going to win it
to win the playoffs.
I like them to be the wild card, to be a wild card playoff team. It's plus 250. And the way that this is kind of a math one for me, they're 3-1 to win the division. And I do not think that they are going to win this division. We have played this game every year with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are not allowed to play. We all know the Chiefs are not allowed to play road games in the playoffs. It's an NFL rule. And they're going to win that division. I'm not falling for this again. And, they're about around even money to make the playoffs, but they're almost 3-1 to get the wild card. I think that they're improved enough that they, especially with offensive play calling, that I think that they are going to be I think they're going to be a good team and in everything. I don't like having a disgruntled running back, but that's a story for another day. We could probably do a whole episode about disgruntled players on teams and what that does to them. But so I like that. I like them at plus 250 to be one of the AFC wildcard teams. And those are kind of two futures that I am eyeing that are a little bit more sensible than my 40-1 Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you there. I do like that straight forecast. Vikings first, Lions second. I don't know what the updated price was. It was around the 5 to 6-1 range. Because I don't really believe in the Packers or Bears, but yeah, I like everything you said about the Vikings. People are acting like the regression is, like you said, going to go from 11-0 to 0-11, and it's just not realistic. Right. They could go 7-3.
They were still good. They were still good last year.
Yeah, they could go 7-3 in 10-1 score games, and that's still regression. But for all we know, Kevin O'Connell. I know a lot of it was Kirk Cousins throwing it to Justin Jefferson, but Kevin O'Connell might just be, a good play caller in crunch time. I don't really have much against it at all. I just it's a lot of hope on Brian Flores because that defense wasn't great, but we're getting around the same odds as last year, and the Lions didn't do much to deserve this, especially with how their wide receiver room is in defense. They have a good offensive line, I get it, but for them to be the decent sized favorite, when they haven't won the division since I was born, I think
93.
Yes. So that just is
Scott
not
Mitchell,
warranted.
right? Probably the starting. I don't know. Let's find who was the starting quarterback.
Well, perfect, because I also don't believe in the Bears, and that'll lead me to my, for some reason, still having all this money on the NFC North, like I mentioned. Um, I like Justin Fields at 28 to 1 to win Offensive Player of the Year. And my cap on it is I think he could very well put up MVP type numbers on a team that does not have the record to support you being an MVP. So, what award do they give to that guy? The Offensive Player of the Year. The little bit I saw of him in preseason, he looked pretty good. Um, the addition of who's it, DJ Moore
Yep.
there. I think was it the first pass he threw, that like screen pass DJ Moore took to the house. Like,
That stat line was hilarious in
yeah,
that game.
so like it's there. Hopefully the passing numbers come up a little bit. He was an absolute rushing machine last year. I think they will be better. I think Khalil Herbert could actually look pretty good this year. So I think there's a lot of room for Fields to put up the numbers. But again, I don't think their record is still going to be very good. So I think that, if you look at this as kind of like a consolation prize type of award for a really good player, I really like the angle there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are comparing it to the Hurts, the Hurts jump last year, which could happen. A little concerned that Mooney might be on the trading block. I thought I saw this week, but yeah, I mean, the rushing floor is there, rushing ceilings there. All he needs to do is be a bit more efficient passing. I would imagine as a third place team or fourth place team, they have an easy schedule, right? So, or should be easier anyway. So, yeah, good number. I'll yeah, I mean, I can go for forever. I got a bunch of different ones, but
Well,
I'll just do one more, I guess, right?
Well, or yeah, do another one, but like
I'll do one with
I guess
higher odds.
I was gonna say like what like maybe we kind of think about like what's a trend that we could probably give people that we're thinking about too.
Well, I'll do a fun one. I do have a fun one.
Okay, give me a fun one.
It's one of the
These are all the other ones you gave were not fun. So like give me
yeah, like
it's not gonna be fun, buddy.
Individual player props are kind of just like whatever. But yeah, if you go on DraftKings, they have team specials, a bunch of different options. A lot. I would look at the prices on a lot of them because some are very very bad. But I took T.J. Watt, 3+ sacks in any game this year, plus 400. He has 5 games of 3+ sacks since 2018, including one last year. He only played 10 games last year. He had 3 sack games in 2021. If you look at some of the O-line consensus rankings, the Steelers play 5 of the 7 worst offensive lines in the league in the Seahawks, Jaguars, Cardinals, Rams, and Titans. But Watt has shown he can do this against top-tier O-lines. In 2 of the 5 games, he had 3+ sacks. They're against the Browns, who have a good offensive line, including last year when he had a 4-sack game against them. So, I think he's in line for a great year. He's dynamic enough to get at least 1 3-sack game against one of these trash offensive lines. Probably come against the Cardinals, but that's going to be the...
No, I like it. Dude,
what do you think his line would be?
I mean, some of the things they're playing bad offensive lines, and he's done it. He's done it literally with an arm tied behind his back. He had a pec injury, so it was kind of like I think it's great.
Yeah, Browns are, and he did it against the Browns.
Who had a top 3 defensive player of the year playing on their team.
True.
All right, so that'll probably be everything we give out. Some other cool stuff I know we want to do is stuff like the People's Parlay. BM, if you want to give everybody what's that, we're going to try and find some things to make sure we have audience participation, crowd participation, stuff like that. So watch some of the People's Parlay.
Yeah, so for people who follow me already, for people who don't, on Twitter, depending on the sport, I like to do People's Parlays. Pretty much just ask for people on Twitter to submit a play, whether it be a money line, spread, player prop, and I like to take some of the submissions, take like 4 to 6 legs, something in that range, and just put a parlay together. All made by the people. And if it's a parlay that hits, on Twitter, I shout out the contributors. We'll be able to do that on this show now. So after we talk about some of our plays, we'll go through a People's Parlay. We'll get the submissions beforehand. Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday. Might be a little tough for player prop lines that early. But at the very worst, maybe some money lines or spreads or something that people like. And then after that, we'll talk about a 3-leg parlay. All three of us here, we're gonna each have one leg for an anytime touchdown parlay that we'll put out weekly on the show. And maybe there'll be a giveaway attached or something to it if it hits.
Little squad ride.
Yeah, a little squad ride.
Squad ride. We could build one right now on futures. Do you want to do that real quick? Like, we don't have to have the numbers in front of us, but why don't we do that? Like, we could all have like maybe like take a couple player prop ceilings that we put together. Like, I know one that I would propose, and then the three of us could have one. We could throw one in.
We can do like an alt, like on FanDuel they have the alt touchdowns.
Would don't they have the alt yards? Because like basically,
they have alt yards
I'm trying to figure out what's a way that we could do one where I could say Dameon Pierce to rush for 1,000 yards is my leg, and you guys give another one. You give one, because I would totally do a three-way parlay like that.
Well, yeah, we can try to do that. The other thing is we talked about it, you like Lamb receiving touchdowns over, right?
I do. So we could that could be a leg.
I think we could do maybe like a Lamb, Metcalf, Amon-Ra.
Well, like what if I'm just saying, like what if
like
all three of us bring one? We just do one right now. Like, can we do? Like, well, let me do.
I don't know the answer to that, because I had some issues when I was trying to combine some of the stuff. I only have a couple of those in, but I was trying to combine some of those things, and it was capping me. I don't know if it was because of the amount of legs, or if it was like sometimes they get weird with like it has to be a unique leg.
I'm making a fake one right now.
Okay.
Let's see. No, it works, dude. It totally works.
Okay.
So wait, let's do an alt ceiling like right now. Like, don't worry about the number because we're just having fun.
Okay.
But like, I would like to propose Dameon Pierce 1,000 yards rushing. What do you want as your leg? Because I'm gonna put this in right now.
Okay, let's see. Do they have? Will they allow you to do it for rushing touchdowns too?
They do. 6, 8, 10, 12.
Can I do? Let me do. That's not the best odds.
Yeah, but we're having fun with it.
Okay. Maybe like 8 rushing touchdowns for Mixon plus 120.
All right. And Dan, what do you want?
They don't have anything for Kenny Gainwell, do they?
Yeah. Super Bowl MVP.
Hold on. Wait, let me see.
I just tried to look and couldn't find much.
They got Super Bowl MVP.
No. 6 rushing touchdowns. No, they do not.
All right. Give me Devontae Smith.
Devontae's
receiving touchdowns.
Right, but how many? Because I think 10? 8, 6, 8, 10, 12.
What's the number for 8?
Plus 180, plus 185. So we have a.
Easily. Yeah.
Oh, actually, never mind. This did not work. Hold on, something changed on it. I lied to you guys. It's just
It won't let you do it, right?
Yeah, it's so weird.
I had this issue too, where like
stinks.
If it's not in the unique,
all right, well, that was fun for like a minute.
Like I think it has to be receiving touchdowns. Like you can do the multiple receiving touchdowns.
But they all have to be the same stat category.
Yeah, I think so. I had this issue when I was just like messing around with it.
Well, we can post it on socials or something. We can come up with it.
Yeah, we can figure it out. But I think like what we'll come up with on this, we'll find a way to do a ceiling, like an alt ceiling type of thing. I like that, like it would be. I hope it'd be very weird if you can't do it in all categories. Let me just look right now and see if you can at least do it by touchdowns in different categories. Like
I try to do like you can, but it's still weird that they have these. Like I tried to do a couple people at 12 and then one person at 10. They were like no, but then I did like 3 people at 10 and one person at 8, and they were like yeah.
Well, let's figure that out.
We'll figure that out offline, and
we'll figure it out.
We'll post it on the Bird and Berg Twitter account.
It's so weird. It lets me do it for all receiving touchdowns. Like we all want 3 guys that have 8 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what BM was saying. It has to be the same stat category.
Such a weird bet.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll throw it out there. This way, we actually can put a little bit of time and thought into it and get some odds that are juicy. Because to be honest, depending on what we pick, I don't want three legs for like plus 500.
No, I think it'd be more fun. When
I'm trying to hit 10 to 1 or something.
Yeah.
At least 10 to 1. But you know me, I'll go to 100 to 1. I don't give a shit.
We'll do it.
All right, so
cool.
Before any final thoughts, again, thanks everybody who checks us out. Make sure to follow us, Bird and Berg, on all social media, streaming live on Twitch, replay up on YouTube, we'll have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everything like that. So make sure to follow, like, subscribe, whatever those things have. It's all different terminology. It's all the same thing. Before we get out of here, guys, any final words?
I'm excited for the year. Excited for football to be back. Excited to experience it with not only you two guys here, but with everyone tuning in throughout the season. And I could not be more excited.
Be excellent to each other.
Yeah, just watched that movie the other day. My girlfriend.
Oh, really?
Seen it. She'd never seen it. I'm like, you kidding me? We gotta watch it.
Dude, Bogus Journey is also super underrated. It's an absurd.
A lot of people like that
movie,
as the
but it's
best
great.
one.
I love that movie. It's
Yeah,
different. It doesn't. It's very different. It feels like a weird movie.
I mean, people are pretty creative out there for those types of movies. But all right, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you for week 1.
Yeah. I don't know if it's recorded or not because I can't see it.
It's done now.